that started a weekend ago with the Push World Championships. It is time for the big dogs, the four bangers, the Königsklasse, the blue ribbon. It's four-man bobsleigh. And what can we expect on this track? Well, we can expect an awful lot of mistakes from an awful lot of drivers. It's tough enough to get a two-man down here, harder yet in a four-man. It is a long, flattish start. That will give them room to load before they need to settle on the long glide down into turn one. And the driver can take a breath from here into turn two, because from here on in, he can't. Out of two, try to avoid a tap on the left wall. From three, almost impossible. And then we're dropping already out of Whiteface into the Devil's Highway. This is not speeded up. This is how quick the corners come at you at 60 miles an hour, accelerating hard. Big pressure, two pressure corner, shady 2, and then down through 11 and 12, the Labyrinth, corner 13, and then 14, named after Stanley Benham. Uphill, over the brow, shoot the chicane, hopefully, into 17. Little dink in 18 can cause lots of problems, puts you late on 19 as you climb the hill through turn 20, still uphill to the line. Problems in the heart can lose races in a fraction. Well, the start record here dates back to November the 20th, 2005, set by Andre Lange and his crew. They won that year. They didn't win that year, they took silver that year. They were the reigning champions at that stage. Francesco Friedrich is our points leader from Brad Hall. They've been 1-2 in both races so far this season. Hansi Lochner won the two-man yesterday, and he has had a sixth and a second. So Brad was fourth last time out, in fact, in Park City, but silver medalist in Whistler. And the man to beat here, well, he's coaching, Justin Cripps. The man to beat before him, he's coaching too, Rico Peter. The man to beat before him, Max Arndt, he's not coaching. And before him, Stephen Holcomb. 5 wins on this track, including the 2012 Worlds for Holke. And Justin Cripps took 3 in a row in the calendar year of 2019. There was a race here in January, and then 2 races in the December, and Cripps won them all with Ben Coquell, Ryan Summer and Cam Stones. So that top spot has been vacated. Who is going to take it? Well, Francesco Friedrich starts at 7. He's never won on this track in a 4-man at any level. What about Hansi Lochner? Could he do it? Is it time for Brad Hall to grab his first gold of the season? We'll find out in the next couple of hours. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF 4-man bobsleigh World Cup. First up, Christoph Hafer with Michael Salzer and Tobias Schneider, and joined by Kevin Corona. Kevin's first race since the World Championship 4-man finale in Altenburg 2021. It's been a long time. Welcome back, Kevin Corona. 17th World Cup start for Christoph Hafer. Was here in 2019. Finished 8th and 13th in a double 4-man weekend. Gets away with a 5:12. So he's the man that's going to show us how tough this track is. Out of 2, here's 3. Long skid down into 4. That's going to put him offline at the top of the Devil's Highway. Flashing past the cameras, and often the back of the sled is coming off one corner as the front is trying to get onto another. Out of shady, 114.7 kilometers an hour, 71 miles an hour in this big bus. Nice run through the chicane, little skid maybe into 17, didn't have to crank it on too hard. 82.8 miles an hour. We'll be shading up to 85 miles an hour by the end of the day. 55.12, track record 53.67, set in 2003 by Andre Lange, René Hopper, Kevin Kuska and Carsten Embach. So 55.12 off a 5:12 start. And the start record 4:90, Andre Lange again with Martin Putzer, René Hopper and Kevin Kuska, part of that crew as well. Kuska's slid for a few. Slid with Andre Lange, most recently of course his a new start with a new driver in front of him. I'm here with Christoph Hafer. It's a nice run through the chicane, but just gets bumped away, not by the wall, but by the fillet. The little curve of the track just eased him a bit too far left of where he would like to be. But there you go. Christoph Hafer sets the pace. World Cup debutant in four-man, Canada's Pat Norton. Actually has done a four-man World Cup here. December 2019, he was a brakeman for Nick Polagnato. He's got William Ashley, David Cachero and Sean Fraser in the sled. In and down, 5:31. Well, for Pat Norton, it is all about learning how to compete at this level at the moment. Last time we were racing here, he was not a driver. We've been away for 3 seasons, and now here he is, driving in the World Cup. Remarkable how quickly some athletes come up. And the Canadian program, whoa, in rebuild, big skid, he's in trouble, gathers it all together. Knew that was going to be trouble there, coming off 14, and had to wrestle the sled a little. Could be it's coming at him a bit faster than he was anticipating. Across the line, 55.63, Justin Cripps on the left. Winner here the last 3 times on this track. They are stoked to get a World Cup four-man start under their belts. A four-banger, baby, yes it is. Well, Lyndon Rush, the other Canadian coach. I don't think Lyndon took a win here, had a medal, had a bronze back in 2010-11. But Justin Cripps knew how to get down this track well. Not a bad run at all through the chicane. Again, just drifting a fraction left of where he would like to be, because that puts him...
Four-man Lake Placid. I don't like it.
Wait till you get to Altenburg, because that is quite like it. Next up for Brazil, Edson Bindilatti. 7th World Cup start for him. He raced in four-man World Cup here in December 2014 and in 2016. He's had lots of North America's Cup races here. Actually, Edson's first World Cup appearance in a four-man was back in Koenigsegg 2006 when he was a young brakeman. He's now a not quite so young driver. Let's see what the boys have got. Drops in 5:25, so a little quicker than Pat Norton. And these guys finished in 12th place in yesterday's two-man race. Edson claiming his first World Cup gold on this track just a couple of weeks ago. And his braking crew competed as 2 pairs in the two-man push worlds, as well as with Edson in the four-man. 3800's back, second best run though. He does have good knowledge of this track. Shoots the chicane, the tap there, putting him about right into 17. But 18 has caught him. It's a long, ugly ride up, and the track workers will jump in to try and stop the sled before it rolls back. You don't want it gaining any more momentum. Now the boys are out, they know the danger. Well, good to see them getting out so quickly. Edson will be last out because he's, of course, trapped by everybody else behind him. Track workers running down past me. There's Shauna Roebuck on the wall as well. Working here, coaching with the USA. And the boys are out and up. So gets on to 17. Just maybe has to crank it a little. Brings it down. But late off 17, rolls it across the wall, then hits into 18. And that tiny little dink in 18, there's just nowhere to go. And they're rolling into 19. Really tough. Well, he completes the run. What a shame. That was going nicely as well. There's the other boys in the team. So a 56.91 is recorded, and as long as there are enough healthy bodies, they will get another go. Adding insult to injury here by having to shove the sled all the way back up. Track workers slushing in the grooves. So that is a mixture of snow and water. It goes on just like you'd plaster a wall. That freezes pretty much on contact. So it fills in the holes, fills in the gouges. What you don't need is those marks basically grabbing the runners. You can see all the runner marks coming towards us on that part of the track, right down there at the bottom of the picture where he's slushing in now. You can also see that very few of them are actually continuous. They basically chatter along the peaks in the ice where it's been shaved. There's a track hold for what will likely be 5 minutes. And that means that Michael Vogt of Switzerland, our next sled, will have to wait a few before he gets to go. Good to see loads of fans here this week. Always nice to see fans out of the track. One of the great things about coming to bobsleigh tracks predominantly is that it's a big deal in a small town. That's very much the case here in Lake Placid. Lake Placid held the Winter Games in 1932 and in 1980. And the Miracle on Ice, the semi-final where the USA snatched victory against the Soviet Union. It was a massive, massive deal for US Olympic sport and US hockey. That was on the ice rink here. And of course, the 32 games, a natural track. The 1980 track is still here, deep in the ground. It was set into the ground. And this modern track follows very much in the same spirit. And to a degree, very close nearby. The old track is right beside the modern track. There's a great roller coaster as well that the visitors can ride, which traces that path and the path of the 32 track as well, and gives them plenty of history. Chris Woolley there at the front of the sled, just making sure that he's aware of when the sled goes on the ice. The reason you don't put it on the ice is it makes the runners even colder, and that actually increases the friction. So they're kept at air temperature, which is what the runners are measured against to make sure they're not heated too much. The hotter they are, think hot knife through butter, as opposed to a knife through butter that's come out of the fridge. And that's exactly the issue with heating the runners. It is illegal. Mystique Rowe on the right-hand side there, winner of our Push Worlds in women's skeleton, and one of the alternates for the 4 runners here this weekend, enjoying the noise and entertainment of the World Cup coming to town without actually having the pressure of competing. A great thing to experience as an interested bystander, let's say. Track hold after the crash of Edson Bindilatti, the 3rd man down in race 3 at the 4-man bobsleigh World Cup, and now we are ready to go with our 4 sleds. Switzerland's Michael Vogt, Silbieri, Alan Noosa and Sandra Michel. Really well rehearsed and drilled crew this. They took 2-man bronze yesterday, Michael Vogt and Sandra Michel. So in his 28th World Cup race, can Michael Vogt get in the medals again? 7th and 9th here, 3 seasons ago. He does have knowledge of the track. Not a lot, but more than quite a few others in the field. 5:09, boy, are they up for it. That's only 1900ths away from the all-time track record, which is now 17 years old. Good speed from Michael Vogt, 56 miles an hour already, accelerating hard all the way down through the Devil's Highway, picking up speed. 71 miles an hour through Shady 2, a little late on 14. Got to gather it all together for the chicane, takes the double tap, puts him a little aiming high into 17. Well, he is just about hanging on in the lead over Christoph Hafer, but the German sled was very quick. No, 100th back. But in the mix, there's Rico Peter on the right-hand side. So Christoph Hafer, 55.12, Michael Vogt, 55.13. So now another name that I'm looking for on my list of medalists here, which I don't see actually, is Rico Peter. Look at this, little high and late, and look at the transition, off and on. It's as quick as that. The driver has to be very sharp here. Devil's Highway and then the Labyrinth, 11, 12, 13, come at you very quickly. Out of 14 down through the chicane. Gets the little tap away there. And that puts him aiming a bit too far to the right, so he has to negotiate the line again to get onto 17 right. But Michael Vogt, 100th off the lead. 4 sleds down in our field, and this is the USA's Jeff Gadbois with Carsten Vissering, Quentin Willey and Darius Joseph behind him. 10th in the 2-man yesterday, Gadbois. This is only his 9th 4-man World Cup start. But this is the track where he came as a kid, where he learned how to drive. Ivo Ferriani in the black hat on the right-hand side, watching the action as the crew get away. Just a little hesitation in the load, but a 5:23 start. Wasn't feeling it at all yesterday in the 2-man. Little skid from 1 to 2, or off 2. Takes the tap out of turn 3, and down into the Devil's Highway we go. 4th best speed. Oh, yeah, he's really not feeling it in the 4-man either. A lot of rocking and rolling going on for Jeff Gadbois. Looks like the timing was just a whisker off early on. He's struggling to re-correct himself. 4th best speed, but half a second back. He's battling with Pat Norton, the rookie, for 3rd place at the moment. And he is in 4th spot. Yeah, disappointment on the face of Brian Scheinman there on the right-hand side, and that will be echoed by Jeff Gadbois. He's not exactly going to be bubbling with that run. So Sean and Roebuck grabbing the sled as the boys dismount. Well, here, early skids costing him plenty of time at the top of the track. And then it just was not quite right, was it? Here's the chicane, takes the tap on the left wall. That's corner 15, 16, the chicane. It causes a lot of problems if you don't get through there straight. Yep. Simon Friedli for Switzerland. 59th 4-man World Cup now, 14th as a driver. Finished in 7th place in yesterday evening's 2-man race. Andrea Orsinger at 2, making his World Cup debut, joining Greg Jones and Andreas Haas on the sled. So welcome to another new brakeman here today. Well, again, bit of a long load, took a while for Andrea Orsinger at 2 to drop in. But 5:17, started with speed and power. Whoa. Messy from 3 into 4. And again, it is coming at Friedli at a rate that he's not expecting. Very high in the middle of corner 10, shady 2. That means he has to crank it off there and work very hard. All the steers here are big, not necessarily subtle in any way. And again, gets high on early in 17. 4,300s back. Enough to stay in front of Pat Norton? No, not enough to stay in front of Pat Norton. 55.64. Well, Simon Friedli has not driven this track before this week. So again, limited knowledge. He will come towards the front, further towards the front, when we get to tracks in Europe where he does know his way down. And Simon Friedli struggling here. Couple of days since they've been on the track in a four-man, maybe 3 days. And the ice very different today, different to the way it felt yesterday in the two-man races as well. And Friedli getting taps early onto a lot of those corners in the Devil's Highway and down in the Labyrinth. And once you're wrong on one, it's like a sequence of corners on the road. You just get wronger, wronger, wronger. 75th four-man World Cup start for Francesco Friedrich. Torsten Margis, Candy Bauer and debutant Felix Straub on the back of the sled. Silver medalist yesterday in the two-man race, has never won on this track, and his brakeman, as far as I can tell, 100-meter, 200-meter sprinter, has never started an official race, but a good getaway, 5:10. Francesco Friedrich has had one medal on this track, and that was in the 2012 Worlds. That was his first time here. This is looking like a pretty decent run. A lot of tail and side coming down into CB2s, but the best speed of all. Friedrich making it look a lot more controllable on this track than it is. Early height in 17, he sends it right up to the woodwork almost. But this is going to be, it's not going to be enough to take the lead. Christoph Hafer will lead at the line. 800's back in third place. Wow, Francesco Friedrich is in the game, and there was work to do in that run. 24 four-man wins in his total of 44 four-man medals. That's World Cup, not including Olympics, World Championships, Junior Worlds or anything else. Don't forget he's a two-time Junior World Champion in four-man. So Francesco looking for win number 25 in four-man start number 75. Gives you an idea of just how good this man is and what an athlete he is. If we had single athlete pushes, then not many of the German athletes would be able to match him. Brake handles stay out a long while. Felix Straub forgetting his job to push them in. I don't know how he noticed, but look, you can see heads bumping up and down, bobbing up and down. So it's not perfection every time. And France, he'll go back and give it another go. Well, Frank Del Duca a week ago had to pull out of the Push Worlds because he was on crutches. He looked like he was trying to give it everything yesterday. He is definitely not 100% pusher. Adrian Adams, Martin Christofferson and Manio Mitchell behind him. In this US-built development sled, 17th World Cup for Frank Del Duca, only his 5th as a driver, 5:12 getaway. Within a couple of hundreds of Friedrich's crew, you know you're going well. Michael Vogt's team have the fastest start at the moment at 5:09, but leader Christoph Hafer started 5:12 as well. So Frank Del Duca, if he can get a good run together here, could be right in the mix. Whoa, high there. Look out. End of the Devil's Highway, had a sting in the tail almost. And again, he's late there. Doesn't get clean through the chicane. Shoots straight up into 17. It's a real handful, this track. And Frank Del Duca doesn't have the run volume that he will in the future. 55.65. All right, a top 5 run, top 6 run, and he's 100th behind Simon Friedli, 200th behind Pat Norton. So we got 2 races here, the top 3 covered by 800s, and then 4, 5, 6, of whom Frank Del Duca's crew are 6th, covered by 200s. That's a dead heat. Whoa! Didn't see that in the first view. That was Adrian Adams at 2, just making it into the sled. But the way he fell, gentlemen, you know that was not comfortable. Heads nicely in line there. Everybody tucked in aerodynamically behind the driver. And this US sled with a very different
thanks,
look.
Guys. Thanks for watching.
Kind of wider, squarer looking sled to allow more room for the athletes. So yesterday's race winner, Hansi Lochner, 4th equal with Francesco Friedrich, and 2nd the last time we were here behind Justin Cripps. With no Cripps, does that make him the favourite? Well, maybe. Florian Bauer, new kid this year, Eric Bruckert and Christian Rasp on the back. 5:06, look at that. What a big start from Hansi and his crew. 47th four-man World Cup start. He said he was having all sorts of trouble in the four-man yesterday, only 5th or 6th in training. So he said he was going to have to go back and look at his two-man lines to see where he could improve, and it looks like that is helping. The gap is a whisker, 0.03 of a second with teammate Christoph Hafer. This could go either way. Don't forget, top 3 covered by 800s. He's tied, but he doesn't have the speed. Must be clean here. Little late off 17, rocking off 18. He's not going to be ahead at the line. He's not going to be 2nd. He's not going to be 3rd. 1400s back. Hansi on the podium in the last race here. The final race of 2019's fortnight of action here. Cripps, Lochner, Friedrich. That was the podium. No current German driver has won a World Cup race on this track. Well, they get in and get down neatly. Christian Rasp at the back, definitely not forgetting the back handles. Drove his way through the chicane, but again left himself a little on the left for 17. Watch the going away, the reverse angle there. Does he take a tap? No, he doesn't. So he drops into 17 on the wrong side, and that shoots him up towards the roof. A bit comme ci, comme ça, as they say in Bavaria. Taylor Austin next for Canada. 4th World Cup start for Taylor in the four-man. 9th in the two-man yesterday. Cyrus Gray, Shaquille Murray-Lawrence and Mathieu Gosselin, the Québécois, in the centre at the back. So they're moving the guys around, trying to find the ideal way to get them into the sled. In real trouble there. Big trouble for big Cyrus Gray, who was on the two-man. He gets himself in and down. I don't know if he's got his legs around the driver, if his knees are tucked up under his chin, cannonball style. That will be a very uncomfortable way to come down any track, and this one especially. 5:23. So 2 major start mishaps. Oh, and he is struggling here, Taylor Austin. Having to adjust on the fly, as they always do in the first heat, to how much grip there is or isn't. There's no way of knowing. Gets a good chicane, 4th best speed, gets nicely onto 17. 7 best at the start. Is he going to be 7th at the bottom? He's in the top 6 on times. He's 5th at the line. Wow, okay. Well, that ended better than it started. 5th place at the line, right in that tight group. In fact, just north of the tight group of 3 sleds covered by 200s. Take a look, though, as the man at 2, big Cyrus Gray. Now, I don't know what happened there. I thought maybe his foot, he falls in on the driver. Thought maybe his foot had missed the bunk or slipped off. That's often what happens. And he rakes his spikes across the driver's shoulder as he tries to get back in. So Taylor Austin had plenty to think about going down into turn 1. There he really had to haul it hard. And then the chicane treated him nicely. Look at that. All right. Yeah, drama at the start for Taylor Austin and the crew, but 5th place ahead of Pat Norton. Christoph Hafer, the narrow leader. 3 sleds remain in the first heat. Brad Hall of Great Britain next up, 42nd 4-man World Cup race for him. Aaron Gulliver, Big T, Taylor Lawrence and Greg Cackett. Graham Richardson, the coach, yelling them off at the top. 5th in the 2-man yesterday. 5:07, another big start from the crew. 2nd fastest getaway behind Hansi Lochner's team. Not too bad from 3 to 4 into 5, 6, 6 best speed. 200s in the lead at the moment over Christoph Hafer. Hanging on, 2nd best speed out of Shady 2. Good run from Brad Hall. He's still got a narrow lead here. If he gets a clean chicane, this could go very well. Gets the tap to set him up nicely into 17. Best speed of all, 83.3 miles an hour. A good run from Brad Hall, tiny touch coming into 19. 600s back in 3rd place, ahead of Francesco Friedrich. Big start, big drive, just needed tidying up at the bottom. Well, that means there is an improvement, some improvements to be made in the 2nd run for Brad Hall. That was not bad. The boys are stoked with that. A 5:07 getaway. They are absolutely in there, swinging with the very best. Nice, neat load. And here again, just avoiding too much work. Has to just take a little check. Head-on shot from the chicane. Just took a little steer to get away from that impact on the right. Double tap on the left sets him up nicely. But down in the heart, 18 to 19. That's where those few hundreds went away. One more go, here we go. All right, 2 more sleds to go, and the first is Markus Treichl. He did race here in 2019, 9th in race 1, 20th in race 2. 37th 4-man World Cup start for Markus Treichl. Got Sasha Stepan, Marcus Sammer and Christian Huber behind him. So should be a decent start. It is 5:12. Markus Treichl had a good 2-man race yesterday, finished in 6th place, a World Cup best for him. Can he do the same in 4-man? 100th out of the lead, big skid. Well, that's going to take a 10th away by the time he gets down to Shady. Because if you come in sideways, you're always going to be in the wrong place in the Devil's Highway. Some of these transitions are so short and sharp. 1800s back, double tap in the chicane. A thunder of these big beasts rumbling down the track. Top 6 run for Markus Treichl. 6th yesterday, 7th at the line by 300ths. This is coach Wolfgang Stampfer with the beard and the beanie. So 55. And quite a lot to work on in that run. There's definitely potential for another big outing in the 2nd heat from Markus Treichl. Really coming on strong this year, Markus Treichl, so good to see. Hauls it down a little there, and that's that late runner pressure at the rear. Big long skid. Through the chicane, takes the tap, and then the tap on driver's left to put him over to the right-hand side for 17. Sometimes it's better to take the tap than it is to fight it. Final sled in the first of our 2 heats of this 4-man race. Cedric Follador with Nicola Mariani, Dominic Hufschmidt and Marco Durig behind him. 4th 4-man World Cup as a driver for Cedric Follador. Finished in 11th in yesterday's two-man race. Let's see what these boys have got at the start. Anything around 10, very low teens will be handy. 5:23. All right, so he's 1100s behind as he sits down. The bobsleigh law says, or bobsleigh math says, you should be 3300s back at the bottom from an 1100s deficit at the top. Let's see how much of that he can contain. Well, a couple of mistakes early on before he got to Whiteface. Can't afford any here. He's late in the Devil's Highway. Fourth best speed at Shady, but a quarter second back. Gets a good chicane. Oh, just clipped the wall at last moment. But look at the speed. Second fastest sled. Great speed from Cedric Follador. Chasing down a top 6 run. He's ahead of Markus Treichl. He is ahead of Markus Treichl. 55.48. That is a very good run from Cedric Follador to open the proceedings for his team. They're happy with that. I'm loving the detail on the race suits. Looks like they're all wearing Christmas jumpers under their race suits. Really nice. And these athletes, these sleds, just covered in sponsorship. So good to see. And so good to see the Swiss drivers doing well. Vogt in second, Cedric Follador now in 6th position. Simon Friedli in the top 10 as well. So 3 Swiss sleds in the 10, 3 German sleds in the 10, and 2 Canadian sleds in the 10. It doesn't leave much room for anybody else, does it? Well, there we go. First heat done. 1 heat to go till Christmas. Who is going to hang out the stockings? Brad Hall of Great Britain lies in 3rd place. The top 3 covered by 600ths of a second, the top 4 by 800ths of a second. Vogt of Switzerland lies in 2nd, but our race leader is Germany's Christoph Hafer. He was first out in Heat 1, will be last to go in Heat 2. And on this track, honestly, the top 4, that's a dead heat. In fact, count Hansi in there as well. Anybody can give away 1500s easily, just with one mistake on this track. So the top 5 are all in there swinging for medals. And in the women's skeleton, we had an athlete come from 8th to the podium, more than 3600s back. So Cedric Follador, if he has another good run, he could be right up there as well, posting more personal bests. Well, that's how they stand after the first of our 2 heats. Hopefully, we'll see Edson Bindilatti and his crew on the line to start the second. No, we're hearing that, in fact, he is not likely to do that. However, we will be back, and so you should be too. I mean, what else are you going to do? Re-watch the World Cup final? We'll be back at 1600 Eastern, 2100 GMT, 2200 CET. It'll be better than watching the football. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Vote in here, hon.